Hey there! Welcome everybody to Pastor's Perspective, sponsored by Calvary Chapel, Costa, Mesa. My name is Brian Perez. So thankful to be on the program with you today, and so thankful to have Pastor Brian Brodersen from Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa in the studio to answer your questions for the next hour or so. Give us a call at 888-564-6173. And also answering your questions on the Bobby Cam, Bobby Conway, the 1 Minute Apologist guy on YouTube. Also the pastor of Image Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. It is a Tony Clark-less edition of Tony Clark Tuesday on Pastor's Perspective, by the way. He won't be joining us, but he might be listening on the app or something. I don't know. Welcome, everybody.
Good to be with you.
Yeah. It's great to be here. We will miss our good friend Tony. There will be no sparring between Tony and Bobby today. Just be Bobby and I. We'll get along. And
that's right.
Just wanted to compliment Bobby on his new look. Looks like he's got a little bit of a beard thing going, and a nice blazer. You really look good for the YouTube audience today.
Well, thank you, bud. You got to tell Lance that I put the coat on for him. He'll be happy.
Right. Yes. He loves to see that coat or that collared shirt. Man, I've been noticing just such great photos of Image Church. It just looks like you guys are off to such a great start. Is it as good as it looks, or are you just doctoring up those pictures? What's going on?
He's using other churches' pictures. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's right. We've been using Tony Clark's church and just throwing pictures up from there. No, I mean, I think that we have a really healthy community. I think that it's been fun. We're enjoying ourselves. I feel burdened by, apathy in the church at large.
Mm-hmm.
The time that we're meeting at is a challenge. People out here don't like evening services. So in California, people love like the Saturday night services and stuff. It's not the case here.
Yeah,
so
but
that's
it's
our option.
it's not even the case as much here as it used to be. It used to be
Really?
more. Yeah, I really think. And evening services where, at one time, I mean, unless you've got an event or, you've got some popular figure or something like that, there aren't.
Yeah.
I don't know of a whole lot of churches that are packing things out to just do a Bible study on midweek, like it used to be the case,
Yeah.
So it's kind of a cultural change across the board.
Yeah, I think it'll feel good. I bet, we would increase 30, 40% in our numbers if we could just get a morning slot. It's so difficult out here to find space.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I mean, we really do enjoy our community and that's what's nice. You want to be externally focused and keep thinking about reaching people. At the same token, you can have massive sized church and it could just be so unhealthy. And so I'm thankful for health.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. That's great.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Been in some good meetings all day and just, a lot of good things happening. We are just about finalizing all of our Marietta Hot Springs, transition, and we're heading with our Bible college up the mountain here in Southern California, up in the San Bernardino Mountains to Twin Peaks, to our conference center that we've had for many, many decades now, up in Twin Peaks. So, yeah, there's a lot of things going on. I mean, a ton of things. Yeah. So we're all kind of just, spinning a bunch of plates and just trying to figure out, okay, how do we stay above water with this? I'm in my last semester of school, which is simultaneously torturous and glorious. And so it's like they saved the hardest class for the last. It's like, wait, I thought it was supposed to get easier the further we went. I've got 2 textbooks that are 600 pages each, and they each have workbooks that go with them. So I'm just like, what?
Oh boy,
what is this? I was thinking it was going to be kind of a, Disneyland trip and maybe just hanging out and kind of reflecting on what we've learned so far. But no,
Yeah.
And then, of course, got the big exams coming up, too. So
you're expecting like grad night at Disneyland
well,
or
I
something
was
like
thinking that that's what we were moving toward.
Oh,
but
okay.
apparently.
Welcome to the big leagues.
Yes. But I know
man.
Bobby has sympathy because he did it for a lot longer than I'm doing it. So he did about it twice as long as I'm doing it. So.
But you know what, though? Sometimes I would feel frustration because professors would sign so many books to read.
Yeah.
And I think that they just felt good making it seem real hard. But the truth is I kind of just felt like I was being legalistic, looking at pages and turning them so I could say that I read it. You know? And so I'd much rather just have a good book that somebody could retain than say, here's 6 books that you got to read this semester, which is completely unrealistic if you got 5 or 6 classes.
Yeah. And yeah, totally. And but this, these books have, this class has 15 quizzes. And so that means you really do have to read.
That is a lot.
You really have to read these chapters because you have quizzes on them. So, so anyway,
they're going to check you out.
That's my world right now, but it's good.
Did they ever find water in Murrieta?
They found water, thank God, in Murrieta. I mean, we knew there was water in Murrieta.
Well,
we
you
had
know
it
what I mean,
flowing
yes.
everywhere. But but they were hoping that there was more water, and thank you, Lord, there was more water that we drilled 300 feet into the earth to find. But yes, we did find it. So I know we mentioned that. I know some of you prayed for that. Thank you so much for your prayers. And so, that's part of everything kind of wrapping up.
I'm just glad I'm not a false prophet. I mean, that's a
yes, me too. Yeah.
Are you allowed to disclose information about the Murrieta thing? Because I know some people they might have wrong information. Well, I don't know. What do I mean by that? Like. Like who are the buyers or what's going to happen, et cetera?
The buyer is a resort owner and operator who has some resorts around the country. So they're turning it into a beautiful resort. The city of Murrieta is doing backflips. This is like the greatest thing that ever happened as far as they're concerned. They've been looking as a community. They've been looking for a place to hold, theater productions and different things like that. And there just hasn't been anything. So this is kind of, they just feel like this is a real answer to things that they've been wanting to do for a long time. So it's really good. It's great for the city. It's great for the buyer. It's great for us. And so we're happy. I mean, I know a lot of people are sentimentally attached.
Yes, that was my next.
And so forth. But, I remember when we didn't own Murrieta Hot Springs. So to me, it's like, we had it for 25 years, but I remember the years, plenty of years before that. We have had the Twin Peaks facility since 1975. So I was graduating from high school when Calvary Chapel purchased that. So, we've had that in our history for a long time, and it's always been a blessing. And prior to Murrieta, that was where the Bible College was located. That's where we did all of our retreats and things like that. So, we're happy to go back, and we're in the process of remodeling that. And so I think it's going to be really good.
Way cool.
1975. Is that when you graduated high school?
I did, yes, 1975.
That was the year you were born, isn't it, Bobby?
Man, I was 2. I was born in 73. So, wow. Man, we got a dinosaur with us today.
That's right. You were toddling around, and I was getting in trouble and shooting the pier at Huntington Beach on my surfboard.
That's right. Yeah, if only you could see toddler Bobby and think, that will be my radio partner someday.
I know. It is funny, isn't it?
Boss
It
baby.
sure is.
Boss baby Bobby.
Boss baby Bobby. He was a boss baby even then.
Right.
All right, 888-564-6173 is our number. Let us go to the phones and begin with Lisa in California. You're on Pastor's Perspective. Lisa, hello.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. And I just want to say I graduated from high school between Pastor Bobby and Pastor Brian, so I'm another dinosaur.
Well, dinosaurs are in, I mean, Jurassic
Yes.
Park, what is it, 3 or whatever?
It's good to be a dinosaur right now.
That's right.
And also, speaking of Bible college, I actually graduated online from Bible college in 2006 and then did Calvary Chapel Bible University in 2012.
Oh, good for
So
you.
I guess I should know thank you. I guess I should know the answer to this, but I'd just like to hear it currently. So back when I was in Bible college, we were cautioned against looking into astrology or the stars or anything along that nature because it was considered occultic. But I've noticed in speaking with other prayer warriors that there's this sudden surge in people pinpointing the date of the rapture and the tribulation and the Lord's second coming based on all these different blood moons and eclipses and things that have happened. And I just wanted to know whether, as a Christian that's scripturally based, I should even be looking at things of that nature.
Brian?
Well, first of all, I would say that I think you're maybe confusing astrology with astronomy a little bit. Astrology is kind of trying to predict your future or your fortunes and things based upon the alignment of the stars or based upon your sign, in the zodiac and so forth. So that's astrology. Astronomy is just understanding and studying the heavens and the various bodies in the heavens and things like that. And so, the Bible, of course, speaks of signs in the heavens, and the earth shall be turned, or the moon shall be turned to blood, and so forth before the great and awesome day of the Lord. But having said all of that, there's nothing in the Bible that speaks of a blood moon per se, nor are we told to look for a blood moon, that it would have any relevance to the coming again of Jesus. And I think anytime you start suggesting that we're going to figure out the day or the month or even the year that the Lord's going to return, you're just wasting your time, and inevitably you will be proven to have been wrong. And I think it can be a colossal waste of energy. So I don't do it. I don't recommend people do it. I think staying up with, current trends and things in the world that are looking like some of the things that we see in Bible prophecy. We know the Bible prophesies that there will be ultimately a one world government, there will be a one world leader, and there will be a one world religion for that matter. There will be a one world economy, and those kinds of things. So, those are interesting, but I think if you spend all of your time and energy on them, again, I think it's a distraction. I think you're going to be frustrated at a certain point because, well, wait, I thought all these things were coming down, but they didn't come down. We've already lived through this. We lived through this in the 80s. Generations of Christians have lived through it at different times in history. And so I think it's just another one of those seasons where we know, Jesus said it this way, and I think this is such good counsel from the Lord, that his own apostles asked him this question. After he had risen from the dead and prior to his ascension, they said, Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? And basically, are you setting up the kingdom now? And Jesus said this. He said, it's not for you to know times and seasons that the Father has put in his own authority, but you shall receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you shall be witnesses to me in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. So Jesus essentially told them, look, the end of the world is not your business. You're not going to figure it out. You're not going to make it happen. This is your job. Your job is to get the gospel to the end of the world, and I'm going to empower you to do it. So I think that's still the mandate for the time we're living in. So that's what I want to focus on doing.
What do you think, Lisa?
Thank you, Pastor Brian. That's what I was hoping I would hear. With the things happening in Ukraine and all the different events, geological events, we see it coming. We become more anxious. The Lord says to always be ready, so you're not found without your oil.
Right.
But I just wanted to hear it for comfort.
Okay, good. Well, thank you, Lisa, for calling.
Thank you, Lisa, for starting the program today on Pastor's Perspective, 888-564-6173. I was thinking that there might be somebody out there who will predict. For example, I'm just using an example here. They said the rapture is going to happen June 30th, 2022. And then it happens. And people are going to look back, the people left on, wow, that guy was right. But was it just coincidence? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
Well, it's not going to happen, so you don't have to worry about it.
So there.
This is beyond hypothetical. This is
me,
hypothetical and impossible simultaneously.
Yes.
Bobby, you are presently teaching the book of Revelation.
That's right.
What do you think about my advice to Lisa?
Yeah, I think your advice is great. For me, the date setting, the sensationalism, obviously the whole Left Behind series created some sensationalism, and you would be a great example of somebody who is still a pre-mill person that believes in a pre-trib rapture, and yet you're saying, hey, let's not be sensationalists. And so I would say that even as I find myself going, I don't really see myself fitting into a pre-trib kind of a camp right now. Outside of that, I've said at different times, I think by and large, we would interpret the book of Revelation very similar. I would say that what I appreciate is we would totally align on the side of let's not be sensationalists, but let's not go to the opposite extreme and check out on the fact that he's coming again as well, because I think that's the danger. And I think it's good the way you're leading people that are maybe part of a pre-trib camp, because if they have been heavily influenced by maybe the Left Behind series and reading the newspaper in one hand, it's important for people to know that there are people that are pre-trib people that don't fall in line with a version of constantly looking at the newspaper and making, guesstimates about what's going to happen. They're a lot more cautious, and I think you would fit in that camp, and I certainly appreciate that. I'd be pulling my hair out if every day you were reading the newspaper going, well, it looks like this and it looks like this. I have no problem with us doing that. I think people have been doing that for a long time, and people come and go, and I think let's focus. He's coming again. We don't know what time. And if I'm right, the people will have been prepared for the tribulation. If you're right, I'll be glad because I won't have to live through the tribulation.
I mean, like you're saying, I of course believe in the rapture. I believe in a pre-trib rapture. I believe that there is a tribulation period coming. But I just think, when we start looking at Ukraine, for example, I was just in a meeting with, I just watched a video 20 minutes ago of a person that we know who is a military chaplain in the Ukraine, who in the last 30 days has lost 22 close friends in the war. Wow. And, basically she was sharing a list of prayer requests. And so my point here in even bringing that up is the Ukraine is in the midst of a war, as we know. Russia is the aggressor. These things have happened over and over and over again in history. And I just don't know why we have to, at this moment, rush to the conclusion that this is somehow part of an end times scenario. I think it's more a scenario that is just a repeat of history. And so I think we just have to be careful, because then we can become very callous to the actual realities on the ground and the suffering of the people. We see this as a grand, wonderful fulfillment of prophecy. People are dying all over the place, and I just think it's really just a perspective that I don't think it's healthy. And again, we don't know. There's nothing in Scripture that speaks of Ukraine, and maybe Scripture speaks of Russia. But even if it does speak of Russia, what is the time frame for that? And there's differences of opinion about the time frame among biblical scholars. And so, some people are convinced that time frame is going to unroll, any moment, and other people see it as part of the final conflict that's going to develop. So anyway, obviously, I think that there are things that we know that Jesus is coming again. We know that. And we know that there are going to be certain things that are going to precede his coming that we can look to. Mostly, though, that the signs that we're told to look to are signs during the tribulation. And so, somebody says, oh, well, then you think we're going through the tribulation. I don't think we are, but there will be believers that go through the tribulation. There will be people that come to faith during the tribulation. So those things are written for them. So anyway, that's my 3 cents for the day.
Inflation.
Well, I think one of the things that in complete alignment with that, the one piece that really motivated me to teach through the book of Revelation, well, there was a couple things that I kind of felt like maybe I was one of these guys that got a little skewed by the sensationalism, and then I would read Revelation, and it did seem so bizarre. And at the same token, it's been such a rich study for me because, there is a lot of stuff that is figurative in there. And then but you can't make everything figurative because, there's moments where, like with the trumpets, it's kind of like, alluding to the plagues of the Egyptian Passover. And that was sensational. And like, according to the book of Malachi, God's going to do these miraculous things again. So just because we're in a season where we don't see some of this stuff as much doesn't mean that won't be in the future. But I think what motivated me it was to learn to be more informed on, like, where's my view outside of just the learning that I primarily have had. And then also, I do feel like there's so much happening in the world where people almost just feel like they're delusional in this world, where I'm going, man, maybe it is time to really start gearing up. And that's not setting a date. That's just saying, I could see how a one world currency could be in place. I could see how the two witnesses of Revelation 11 could be seen through social media. So it makes sense to me right now.
Yeah, that's good.
Maybe it's a metaverse thing.
Maybe so. And the metaverse is part of it, But the other thing too, and again, we've talked about this. I just mentioned Ukraine, but I think too, when you COVID, and you still have the conspiracy theories about COVID, that it's not really a real thing, but it's something that the government has invented to get control over our lives and so forth. And, my son-in-law's father passed away today from COVID. So I just think that, that refusal to accept the reality of this disease, and not to say that the government hasn't maybe taken advantage of it or exaggerated it at times or whatever, but it's a very real thing.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Yeah. Hey, one thing, guys, I read an article on kind of this virtual church taking place in the meta world, and it was just interesting, and I'd be curious, Brian, to hear what your thoughts are, because I read it, and this person was describing showing up at 3 different churches in virtual reality church. He developed an avatar, and when he showed up at the church staff had created different avatars. So there was an avatar greeter, there was avatars, when he walked into the worship experience, and I found myself going, I get how important it is for us to not miss maybe some of the opportunities that we can have for the gospel as it relates to social media. I also have a deep burden that many people are just checking out on incarnational community. And so, I was just thinking, like, I'm glad Jesus didn't die a virtual death for us, and I hope we don't, as a result, start to live virtual lives for him through our avatars.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think it's, part of it could be, Bobby, that our understanding of church is fairly one-dimensional. So we think of it in terms of, well, it's a sermon. It's, I'm gonna listen to something.
Good point.
And if that's your view of church, then online, this kind of a thing, it could work for you. But there's more to church than that. And there's more to church to that because there's more to Christian growth than just listening to sermons. You actually can only grow by applying what you know and learn among people. You have to be among people. I was reading a book today by a friend of mine, and he was talking about the living stones. We are as living stones built up into a holy temple to the Lord. And he was using the illustration of the stones in that remain in Jerusalem today in the Western Wall. These stones that were chiseled so finely and precisely that they could place these stones upon one another, and for 2,000 years they haven't budged, and you can't fit a knife blade through them. And but then talking about how when you would set one stone upon the other, if there were still rough edges, the stones would themselves coming together grind off those rough edges. And I thought that's such a good picture of what's happening with Christians when we come together. God uses other people to
grind us down.
To grind you. Yes, he does. And sometimes it's pleasant. Other people that I'm with them and I feel so good afterwards and I'm so blessed. I'm so built up. And sometimes it's unpleasant experiences and I feel so
There's some people that you would rather go, maybe I'll go home and have virtual church instead of seeing these folks.
Yeah, you feel I am just so ground down. I'm so beaten up. But actually I'm going to fit better into the temple now that some of this grinding is taking place. So.
That's so good.
Yeah. And just as think of Acts 2:42, right? They continued in the apostles' doctrine, the teaching, the preaching, and in fellowship, which is the community aspect, and in breaking of bread, the worship, the body of Christ, and in prayer. You can't do that truly if you're doing it on a screen.
That's exactly right.
Bobby kind of looks like a avatar, don't you think?
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking the exact same thing. But you should see his little emoji guy. His what are those things called? We make these. They're not emojis, but they kind of look like.
Yeah.
Aren't those avatars?
Is that an avatar?
Yours looks like you. Yours totally looks like you.
Well, you're not. Yours isn't looking bad either. Send yours right now. Let's do a comparison. Whose looks more like who? We'll send it to Brian.
All right,
he can be the judge.
I can be the judge. We can put it on social media too, and then we can all look at them. All right. So who was that? Lisa, thank you so much for your phone call today on Pastor's Perspective. And Lisa did mention astrology instead of astronomy. So really quick, before we go to the break, what should Christians do about astrology? Is it something that we should follow, participate in, etc.? Bobby, what say you before the break?
As far as astrology, I would say, it's pretty useless for us. I don't think it's something that we're to partake in. Even the Bible, it strongly condemns those who look to, the celestial stars and stuff like that for guidance. Why in the world would we want to look to stars to guide us and astronomy to guide us when we have the Spirit of God living in us and we have the Scriptures to guide us? And honestly, we just have practical, everyday life wisdom. And so I don't think we are to look to the zodiac. I think one can look at it from a standpoint of just understanding how other people think about this. And I'm not saying that there won't be moments you go, I can see some relationship here. But there is no star communicating to us. Stars are not, they're not personal beings that can communicate any kind of thing to us.
What about fortune cookies? Is it okay to read the little fortunes and take
those? Yes, absolutely. Okay. Find guidance at Chinese food restaurants for sure.
All right, we got to take a break here on Pastor's Perspective. More of your phone calls coming up at 888-564-6173, 888-564-6173. If you're on hold right now, great. We'll try to get to you when we come back on Pastor's Perspective, 888-564-6173. We are back on Pastor's Perspective. 888-564-6173 is the number. My name is Brian Perez, and I'm here looking at the avatars that were just sent to me. Pastor Brian Brodersen's and Dr. Bobby Conway's. And Brian's looks very studious. Like, I mean, you can just tell he's been in the Word or been in one of his 600-page textbooks or something.
Right, yeah.
And Bobby's looks funny because he's doing the what's that, like the hang loose?
He's doing
kind
the
of
shaka, the hang loose. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it almost looks like he's holding his hand up to his head, like doing a phone, like, hey, call me, that kind of thing. So indeed, Bobby does want you to call him at 888-564-6173. We're here till 4 p.m. Pacific time today, and we'd love to hear from you. Hello to you guys watching on Facebook and YouTube as well. 888-564-6173 is our number. And let's go to Mark in California. Hey, Mark, what did you want to know?
Hello, all my favorite gentlemen. Happy Taco Tuesday.
Yes, but it's not a Tony Clark Tuesday today.
No, it's not a Tony Clark Tuesday.
That's because Tony is in training for the big battle royale that's happening in 3 weeks between him and Bobby. I think that's what's going on today.
So FYI, I'm class of 89. I'm kind of old too, so.
You're what now?
Class of 89. I'm kind of old as well.
Oh, class of 89.
Class of 89. Okay, we thought you were saying you were 89.
Yeah.
You definitely were going to win the old person award.
So what's up?
So this question was posed to me by my son, and he wanted to know. Satan knows the Bible, front to back, knows everything. So why does he keep trying when he knows how it's going to end?
Bobby, what would you say to Mark's son?
Well, let's consider if he does believe that the Bible is speaking accurately about his eternal destination, then to just give up, who knows? Maybe he would think, I'll get thrown in the lake of fire early, and it's already challenging, so why get thrown in the lake of fire early? Keep in mind, I'm just speculating here, right? If he doesn't believe that, God's ultimately going to win. See, I mean, Satan's a great deceiver. He can know the Bible and twist the Bible. Who knows? Maybe he's deceived himself into thinking that there's a chance that he can win this battle. Or you could say, well, he knows the plan. He obviously knows God's going to have it out for him in the end. And he's just knows that he's operating according to God's sovereignty, like in the book of Job, where he goes into God's presence and God permits him to do different things. So which of those three options, I don't think if he opted for option A, that he could get thrown into the lake of fire early, because a number of things have to take place before he could get thrown in there. Option B, to think that he has an opportunity to usurp God's plan, could be on the table. But option C, perhaps given the fact that he goes into God's presence, gets permission for certain things, has a long history of understanding that what God says comes to pass. Maybe he just knows he blew it, and he is just going to show his utter hatred and fury against God in the meantime and do all he can to wreak havoc, even though he knows what his future outcome will be.
Any thoughts from you, Brian?
No, I cannot even begin to improve on that most excellent answer by my colleague, Dr. Bobby Conway. Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Bobby.
Good stuff. Mark, thank you for
bet.
calling us with your question today on Pastor's Perspective. Hope that helps out your son.
We're just full of compliments for each other today, aren't we? It's a day of edifying one another. And Brian, you're amazing too. Your hair
thanks.
just
I
looks
was
awesome.
Starting to feel left out.
That's right.
Yeah, I just realized we haven't been
I
giving
wasn't.
you
Your T-shirt
enough,
under your collar.
No.
haven't been giving you enough affirmation.
Oh, well, thank you. Can always use that. To Texas we go. Here is Chad. Welcome to Pastor's Perspective. Chad?
Yes, how's it going, guys?
Great. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I got a quick question for you. My daughter is out of school for the summer, and she has gotten a job working at a restaurant on the weekends, where most of the time on a Saturday or even on a Sunday, she will be scheduled to stay till close.
Mm.
My question is when it comes to Sunday morning and going to church, I noticed the last couple of weekends when she gets home and in the morning, she's just super exhausted. I try to get her to go to church, but she seems like she doesn't have the energy. But as a father, should I just say, hey, we need to go to church, or, what would your advice be? Because I don't want her to have a bad taste about church or even the coming Sunday mornings. So what would y'all say?
Are there any other options for her for sort of, gathering with people during the week to worship and, get in a Bible study?
We used to have a Saturday service, but since COVID, a lot of our services have changed or not come back.
Yeah. How do you feel her personal relationship with the Lord is currently?
It's pretty good. We've always gone to church, and she's seen my faith, and we've always gone to church. So I don't think that she's going to be like, you know what, forget God, I want to work. That's not her personality at all.
Yeah. Personally, I would not pressure her about it. I would just, leave the door open. Hey, honey, if you feel up to it in the morning, I'm going to church, love to go together, but not like, hey, get out of bed. You better get to church or God's going to be mad at you or you're going to fall away. Or those are the very things that push kids in the direction that we don't want them to go. So
exactly.
Yeah, I'd just say, just be gracious, trust, pray for her, just trust that she is, able to make good decisions at this stage in her life. And she can seek the Lord. I mean, there are those times where you just, you're not able to do certain things. And I mean, if it was a life choice to say, I'm never going to go to church again on Sunday because I've got this job on Saturday, then that would be another story. But this is a brief period of time over the summer.
Right.
So I personally wouldn't press it. My kids, are all grown up and out of the house for quite a few years now. Bobby's a little closer to home with that. You got any different advice, Bob?
No, that's what I would say too. I think it's a summer job. I mean, maybe, just encourage her if she needs to get some rest. That it's kids, they just need a lot of sleep. That's one thing I've noticed. When you're teenagers, their bodies are growing, their hormones are going through a lot. I don't think it's always laziness. I just think they're tired. And I think just showing that grace and, hopefully she'll feel energized and up for it. If not, maybe you come home and have lunch with her and sit down and just, practice discipleship and just pour into her what you learned. Encourage her to get into an evening thing. But at the end of the day, this is just a summer job. I wouldn't sweat it.
Is she a waitress, Chad, or what kind of a...
Yes.
Yeah, so she is constantly on her feet serving people on a Saturday night. I mean, that must be crazy.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard work. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for your phone call today.
I have two daughters, and they're both just amazing gals. And I know there were times I look back, and especially my older daughter, I was hard on her. I might have said, "Get out of bed. What are you being lazy for?" And you got to go to church and all of that. And that the times that I did behave that way, I many years ago I had to apologize for that. But I look back now and I cringe at myself. It's like, God, what on earth was I thinking? And I mean, I look at them now, and they're both just amazing women who love the Lord, are serving God, and man, I am thankful that my stupidity didn't do more damage than it could have back in those days when I was Mr. Hard-Nosed about everything. My daughter, when we lived in England, my oldest daughter, she was 15 when we moved to England, and England's cold, and it would be the dead of winter, and we would be ready to go to church, and she would come out and like these high platform shoes with no just straps across, nothing, no socks or anything. And I would just be freaking out, like her toes are going to freeze, and what's the matter with you? And why do you got these dumb shoes on for? And, it's many years ago now, but I looked at her one day and I said, I am so sorry. I don't even know why I did. Why did I care? If you wanted to have cold feet, that was your business. But I was just so crazy about that. Yeah. And, Lord, help us. Help us
I can
to be
relate
more
to
gracious.
a lot of that too.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I mean, I think about some of the things like my daughter, she'd love singing on this video game, and she would do this in a bonus room, and I'd come in and I'd say, "Now I want you to be really careful because you're sitting in here, and I don't want you to create your own little star world where you start just envisioning everybody, coming at you and thinking you're amazing." And I'm like, you know what? I mean, I used to pretend I was Axl Rose and hike my leg up on my bed when I was a kid and start singing "Appetite for Destruction" and or "Welcome to the Jungle" or whatever. So it's like, give her a break. They're just having fun. And
yes.
yeah. So it's like these types of things. Like, another thing I would do a lot of times is I would spiritualize things, and I didn't realize it about myself, but even use shame when they wanted to do kid-like things. Because for me, we put away childish things. And so I wanted to read philosophy and apologetics. And I thought a good time hanging out with the kids when they're 4 and 5 is let's talk about Plato. And they wanted to play with Plato. And so I would, and then we would have these devotionals. We'd do family devos, and they would start laughing and stuff. And I would get so frustrated, like, no, you need to pay attention. We're learning about the doctrine of sanctification. And then I finally got so frustrated, I didn't lead them in a devotional for years because they were laughing. And if I could go back, I would just laugh with them. Yeah. But it was like, I was so worried that they weren't going to take God seriously.
Yep.
So, that zealot in us when we're young and parenting.
God have mercy on the kids.
Oh, please, Lord, have mercy. I too have apologized.
Yeah, all my kids are. As I've said many times. They're all grown now, and sometimes, we'll get in conversations about those old days, and man, they don't let me off the hook about it. They're like, "Oh, Dad, you were just so this," and
remember that time when?
Oh yeah. So, yes, we live and learn. If I would have known back in those days what I know now, it would have been a lot easier on myself and my children. But by the grace of God, they're all following Jesus, and I am so thankful for that.
And now you can spoil the grandkids.
Yeah, me too.
And I could do it right with the grandkids.
Yes, that's right.
It's not. And sometimes I see the parents correcting the grandkids. I'm like, "Oh, you guys, what are you being so hard on them for?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I guess I probably taught you to do that."
Grandparents are antinomians.
Yes, totally. But my son said that to me one time. Charlie's like, "Dad, when you take my kids and there's like just no rules, there's no laws, there's nothing. They can do whatever they want." So yeah,
so true.
That's what you wanted.
Oh, man.
I think you're just jealous that you didn't have that.
You're getting over your legalism from parenting, and you're just going the opposite extreme. I think that's what we do.
Yeah.
All right, back to the phones. Denzel in California. Hi there. Welcome to Pastor's Perspective.
Hey, my name is Denzel, and I'm calling about because somebody told me the rapture is not true and it's a myth, and I had an argument with that person, and I had to go in the Bible and read the Bible like 100 times, and so I just wanted to see if you guys have any questions about that, and
Brian?
Well, Denzel, there are actually some Christians who don't believe in a rapture, and they're still Christians, but this is just an area where they have a different view. And then among Christians who believe in the rapture, there's different views about the timing of the rapture in regard to the second coming of Jesus and so forth. So this isn't completely uncommon. I think that 1 Corinthians 15, beginning in verse 51, and 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, beginning in about verse 14, those are two passages that I think teach that there is a rapture. There is an event where people do not die, but they are instantly changed. That's 1 Corinthians 15. Or 1 Thessalonians says that they are caught up in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. So I believe that the Bible does teach that there is this event. And the reason it's called the rapture, is because the word caught up, it comes from a Greek word, harpazo, and then the Greek New Testament was translated into Latin, and the Latin word is the word raptus or rapturo. Different people pronounce it different ways, but that's where the idea of the rapture comes from those who are alive being caught up together in the clouds. They will not die, but they'll be caught up. So check out those two passages, and I think that'll give you good support for the rapture.
Denzel, what does your friend think happens then?
He thinks like, there isn't a rapture, and there's no such thing as a rapture, and so because here's the thing, I'm a Christian. I'm a deep believer Christian. And I have been told the rapture ever since I was 1 year old, a baby. Mm-hmm. I've been a Christian, and I know there's a rapture. I believe it. I would never stop believing that. And so my friend, he just doesn't believe in the rapture, and he told me to go see in the Bible. It says the rapture is in the Bible, and then I went to check in the Bible, and I found it, and so he's saying, what does it say in the Bible about rapture?
Maybe he's looking for the word rapture in the Bible, and that's why he's debating this. Bobby, what would you tell him?
It could be. I mean, he could be a preterist that looks at this from a spiritual aspect, that believes that the second coming of Christ has already happened in a spiritual way. It could be that he is not using the rapture, but it could be a post-trib who does believe that the church will be caught up and then to meet the Lord for his second coming and then come back down in the millennium. And so there's just lots of different angles that people can, take on this. And they do. I think that the passages that Brian brought out are the same passages that, a post-trib person would bring out as far as a rapture. I think then we would have to discuss how we arrive at the timing aspect, whether it's a pre, a mid, a pre-wrath, a post, and those things. But I would say, try to get him to just define his terms. When he says he doesn't, believe in a rapture, is it because, he's not seeing that exact term? But then help him to see that caught up is in the Bible, as Brian said in 1 Thessalonians. And what does he believe happens there? What does it mean to be caught up? And maybe just ask him some questions about, what about 1 Corinthians 15:51? What does that mean?
Mm-hmm. And just to let Denzel and anyone else know that's interested in the topic, at backtobasicsradio.com,
Yes.
we have a free ebook called Caught Up, and it is a look at the subject of the rapture. And you can just take that and download that for free, but I don't see it there. Where is it?
Maybe it's on page 2.
Page 2, there it is.
There it is,
Yes,
Caught Up.
Caught Up.
Have you sent one of these to Bobby?
I'm going to wait till he gets to the rapture passages, then I'm going to send it to him. Just before. I'm going to spring it on him.
Just before. That's right. With 1 Corinthians 15, do you have people say that this is referring to kind of the resurrection, of believers, not the rapture? And how have you responded to that?
The only problem, Paul, is Paul says, we shall not all sleep, which means we shall not all die. So it can't be a resurrection if you're not dead, right?
Yep. I think that's a big problem. Yeah, I do think that's a big problem. But I do think you can use that as a post-trib rapture passage as well as a pre-trib, because you could...
No.
Because in other words, in a post-trib...
I was going to say,
I'm going to pick up for Tony today. Bobby, you got to get your New King James out, my friend, and you're going to know that you're wrong.
Well, but
I agree.
Explain that. Like, a post-trib's not going to say that they're,
right.
You would be caught up in not sleeping, right?
Yeah.
So
I agree.
What would be wrong with that?
Yeah, I don't think either one of those passages necessarily tell you the time frame in regard to the tribulation. Yeah. But I do.
Sure.
But I do think 2 Thessalonians. I think I actually have a little section in this little booklet on it. I think 2 Thessalonians can possibly be interpreted and in such a way as it actually gives us the best picture of the timing in relation to the tribulation. I think that it's, the passage that we commonly look at, the man of sin, the son of perdition, just the idea of apostasy. You know this, Bobby, the word that's translated there as falling away is the word that just simply means a departure. That's the meaning of the word, and the context depends on what determines what you're departing from. So a form of the word is used in Luke to speak of the fact that Anna did not depart from the temple. So it's clearly talking about just leaving the temple. We have a religious and a negative religious connotation to it in the word apostasy, that the idea always means that you're falling away. But I kind of question that. And I think if you look at it, where Paul's saying to the Thessalonians, look, I talked to you about this before. Now let me remind you again, This departure is going to come first, and then the man of sin will be revealed. So to me, that's like right down the line with a pre-tribulational rapture.
Good stuff. Now to get your copy of Pastor Brian's e-book. Again, it's an e-book, not a physical book that you can hold in your hands. Go to backtobasicsradio.com, click store, and you'll probably see it on page 2 there. It's called Caught Up, and you can download it from there. And there's also a bunch of other physical books. If that's more your thing, you can get those there as well. All right, 888-564-6173 is our number. Here is Sophia in Canada. How are you, Sophia?
Hi, not too bad. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I have a question. Bear with me, it's a long one, but I try to make it fast. Okay, thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
Here goes. The Bible warns us to choose our friends wisely because bad friend corrupts. 1 Corinthians 15 and 33 say that because of bad people corrupts good character, but yet when Jesus was on earth, he befriended sinners. This is a fine line, but what is it? Could you differentiate between Corinthians 15 and 33 and Luke 19, 5 and 7?
Brian, what do you say?
Well, I think, when you look at Jesus, Jesus, of course, loves everybody, and he does befriend sinners. But the goal, of course, is to bring them out of sin and to himself. So I think when we think about people, we don't just simply befriend them because we want to lead them to Jesus. I mean, that is, I think, ultimately what we would love to see happen. But I think we're going to be wise in that we're not going to associate with people in order to let them influence us away from Jesus. So if there's a person that potentially is going to do that, then I think that that's a relationship like you quoted from 1 Corinthians 15. Evil communications is the old translation, corrupt good morals, or associating with evil people can corrupt you. So you don't want to associate with the evil in the person. So I think that's the real issue there.
Sophia, thanks for calling us today from Canada on Pastor's Perspective, and that's all the time we have on today's program. Sorry that we couldn't get to all of your phone calls. We need to do like a 7-hour show or something. I think that should be our goal, 7 hours a day.
You know what? One time this year before it's over, why don't we do a 24-hour
Let's do it.
Pastor's Perspective?
Yeah, let's do it. That'd be fun. Stay tuned.
Might have to do a tag team.
Yes. Yeah, we'll line it all up.
Hey, that's good.
I think that'd be fun. All right. Talk to you guys tomorrow. God bless you. Pastor's Perspective is sponsored by Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa.